Right, we are live.
Ah! Caught me in the middle of a yawn. No spiffy intro today. We're just doing session 0 for a new campaign. GURPS Old West, The Debt.
Yay.
And anybody who happens to be listening in, Nosh is not here and is expected to probably not be available for this campaign due to being out of town. So that's too bad. We will tease him mercilessly for not being here.
To pump up the energy level.
No kidding.
I'm getting there. All right. Well, we don't have the usual character business because we don't have characters yet, technically.
Nope.
Never mind what you see.
I just have an image and a background. I haven't even started stats.
All right. So, for starters, one of the things I've been trying to reinforce in my own mind is I guess it's not a new concept necessarily. Anyway, the idea here is that this is not my story. I, as the GM, am not the orchestra. I am merely the conductor. So this is the story of your characters and how they react to the crap I throw it at them.
Yay.
Therefore, it's important that your characters be properly entertaining in their own right and to have a fairly solid grasp of the kind of story you're trying to tell.
That's always the important question.
And yeah, it's usually one of those questions we don't start asking until we're halfway through.
Is it Unforgiven or is it The Three Amigos?
Yeah, sometimes it takes a while to kind of start feeling your character. You know, you have an idea for what you want, and then it sort of evolves as you play.
That depends on how you do character creation, and that's I have always argued that, especially for GURPS, if not any other system, you really need to figure out the character first and then start working on the stats. Whereas you can get away with the other way with D&D and that sort of thing.
Like, for example, with the Warhammer campaign, like what I was thinking of, being a witch hunter, or not a witch hunter, hedge witch, whatnot. Anyways, it just kind of went a whole different way because I guess maybe I didn't know enough about the world.
Yeah, well, that's a separate matter. And at least in this particular case, since we're dealing with mostly historical setting, that's a little easier to work with. Speaking of which, one of the questions that I had said would be open to your thoughts was the starting date for the campaign. So I had said that I would use 1877 unless somebody had a better idea. So at this point, I will open the floor to better ideas if someone
I think
has one.
that's fine. That's fine. Good time period.
What's special about 1877?
It was just kind of random, really.
It sounds cool.
There's
that,
the Civil War.
There are
When did that
certain
end?
weapons that are going to be available in that time period that are more iconic.
So it's post-Civil War.
Yeah, it'll be at least 10 years post Civil War, so 11, I guess. I
Okay.
thought about backing it up to 1876 just to make it an even 10.
No,
Maybe,
that's going to be 75 because it ended in 65.
I thought it was 66.
You thought
for
wrong.
those, I was gonna say for those of us that are not like super history buff, I mean, I know like what would be the important, what's the word, like themes or issues? You know, I guess we're talking maybe what, slavery, I don't know, the expansion.
Well, I guess the way to think about it is your typical Western. So this is going to be the period covered by the typical Western movie because they
Right,
all take
rustlers,
place within like
cowboys.
a 20-year span.
So basically like lawlessness, people trying to expand, but you still have some sort of government forming in the East.
Yeah. So I didn't get. I guess that would have been a good idea to open with
Got the
that.
marshals.
So the theme that I am going with for the campaign, which is on the wiki but not on my notes right there. Actually, that's not true. You got the whole law versus anarchy, order versus chaos, civilization versus Wild West, yada yada yada. So that's pretty typical of the Western setting in general. And then the second theme, maybe the primary, I'm not sure, would be revenge and the consequences of getting it. So this is going to be a revenge story, FYI.
You mean like each
Hey.
individual player will have a separate revenge story?
Nope, we're going
No,
to be revenging
so
ourselves on you, on each other.
that's true. Well, that depends on how it goes, I guess. So, FYI, in that regard, there will be an inciting incident, quote unquote, at the beginning that will establish your need for revenge.
Blood-soaked revenge or just regular revenge?
Well, I'm thinking blood-soaked, but you know, if you use Nerf bats, then it will be less so.
Yes, I want to beat someone to death with a Nerf bat.
It'll take a
This
little
is
longer.
exhausting. Give me a real bat.
Damn it. And it took a Nerf bat to my train of thought.
Mission accomplished.
Right, inciting incident. So, there will be an incident that will give you your need for revenge, and that incident is going to be heavily weighted against you, FYI. So be expecting that. There will be some suckage at the beginning to establish your need to get back at whoever does it to you.
Well, that'll suck.
I hope it does. If it doesn't suck, the revenge will be somewhat hollow, I think.
I'd like
Son
to
of a
play
bitch must pay.
like a gambler. I'm thinking like I like Billy the Kid, like a gunslinger gambler type.
He wasn't a gambler. He was just a
Billy
piece
the
of
Kid's
crap.
not a gambler.
Well, I'd like to
Doc
play a
Holliday is a
gambler,
gambler.
but a gunslinger like Billy the Kid.
Billy the Kid was really just a huge dick.
In the, I don't know if anyone's seen the Billy the Kid series. They make him out to be something of a hero there.
Of course they do.
Of course they do.
They did it in the in his era too.
Actually, the one that I just watched recently was Old Henry, which, spoiler alert, is Billy the Kid, only he didn't die.
Right,
Yeah, I've seen that one.
that's one of the theories.
Yeah,
Although
wasn't bad.
I watched like the series that Rocky's talking about. They made him sound like, like he was like trying to be a good, he grew up as a good kid, good upbringing, but just kind of kept getting caught in bad situations.
No, I guess depending on the story you read, he was just a complete asshole. And probably clinically psychotic. Or maybe sociopathic.
Well, there's got to be something wrong with you if you rack up kills like they did.
Well, if you're killing people for snoring. Anywho, so there will be a backdrop of that, FYI. This being the West, that's where the outlaws go because they're getting away from the law in the East. So
I wasn't. I was getting away from the law in the South.
eh. So again, typical of the standard Western. So yeah, again, unless somebody comes up with a better time period, that's what we'll stick with. Primarily, when it comes to the time period, I tend to think of like when was the brass cartridge widely available, so that affects loading weapons and that sort of thing. A little too early, and you're having to do cap and ball all the time, and that's a pain in the ass.
77 works for me.
Yep, me too.
All right, so the next question on that particular list was the region that we were going to operate in. So it would have been a great idea for me to actually throw a map up here, but I
Do
did
you
not.
already have one?
I don't.
Because I was going to say, it's really quick and easy to import the stuff anymore.
Well, that's true. I could, and I'm not exactly in a hurry. I did not open my folder. Well, I guess we've answered the question of how much bleed through you're going to get without the door. Okay, let's see here. I don't think I made a map, but I could probably get that one.
Yeah, I haven't even figured out what my character can do. So it's one of those. It's like I was waiting to find out what everybody else had to see if like, oh, we need this, and go, okay, I can build something around that.
Well, I'll tell you that my assumption, I suppose, in that regard, is that you said this to make oh right, you got to do that thing. My thinking was that everybody could easily end up playing the same sort of character, the same gunslinger type, and that would be perfectly fine in this case. It's a bit like the redacted situation in that regard, where it's not super important the kind of characters that are a part of this story.
Are you looking for heavy combat?
I would say that there's going to be plenty of it. I would expect there to be plenty of it. I don't know if that would be considered heavy. It's not going to be like Sea Dogs or some of those, like the Traveler New Deal, where we go 12 episodes and maybe have 2 fights through the whole thing.
So, if you don't have the gunslinger advantage, is it going to be detrimental to your character?
It doesn't matter because we're not doing cinematic.
Is that a cinematic ability?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. All good then.
Problem solved. All right, so there is the map of the United States, and the target that I was shooting for here is
Four
Four
Corners.
Corners, as indicated. This is also a typical scrubland area. I think the Grand Canyon is right around that area as well. So typical Western terrain.
Isn't the Grand Canyon in Nevada?
No. Well, I mean, the Grand Canyon is freaking huge. I don't remember what the extents are, but I know it's Colorado and Arizona at least. Yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head.
It's Arizona.
So the plan is to be, or my current plan is to be right there at the Four Corners. Probably on the Colorado side, or at least currently on the Colorado side. I could change my mind about that, but is it that far over?
That is roughly where the Grand Canyon is. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I thought it was a little bit farther east. It is the Colorado River, after all.
Yep. And it's one of those things that it's like you are consciously aware it's really large, and then you go there and you go, oh my god, it is really, really large.
Are there
So-
any
Like the
in
Hoover
this
Dam.
in this Four Corners region? Is there any sort of named towns that we would be frequenting? Like Dodge City and
let's see.
all the common Western towns.
The anyone that you know the name of is probably not going to be anywhere around here, with the exception possibly of Santa Fe being somewhere around that point. So Santa Fe, New Mexico is fairly big. Deadwood is North Dakota, if I recall correctly. Tombstone is in Arizona somewhere. And then, of course, San Francisco down here-ish, I think. Dodge City is in Kansas over that way. In Colorado, there is Carson City, I think, which is frequented. And as a Olympus special, Cody, Wyoming is right around that area.
Tombstone is where I'm pointing now.
Is it that far south?
Yep.
So we're not going to be playing in any commonly known Western cities, towns.
No, we are not.
And that's Apocalypse.
Yeah, I was about to ask. So we are close to a couple of campaign relevant towns, but nothing nothing famous. And the plan is to use a tethered situation, so we'll be tethered to a particular location. I am currently running with the town name of Babylon. So currently Babylon, Colorado. Again, right there on the Four Corners.
Real town
And
or fake town?
that is a fake town. It is fictional.
Okay.
Translation: by the end of the campaign, we have to burn it down, so it no longer exists.
Why does Snap to Grid default to on when there is no grid? anyway. Yeah. So, fictional town. It will be small. I am intending to populate that with some characters, and that's going to be basically the headquarters. However, I don't expect you to spend the entire time there. In fact, most of what you will be doing will be elsewhere. For the record, I don't intend to be doing the sort of slice of life stuff that, for example, I had in Sea Dogs. So I don't necessarily want to do extended travel segments and that sort of thing. I'd expect to breeze over most of that, just kind of get to the actual mission. Now, when it comes to the mission itself, again, I am going to early on establish the need for revenge, and essentially I'm ripping off a bit of the treasure map thing from Sea Dogs, except that you guys are not coming up with your own treasure maps. There will be 6 individuals that you need to exact your revenge upon, and those 6 individuals will be in 6 different places, and you'll have to deal with those situations. But you will do it in whatever order you decide and whatever manner you decide. This will be effectively open world outside of that. Whether or not there are any side missions, I don't have any plans in that regard, but that kind of depends on you guys. If you stay focused, you stay focused.
What's our relationship to each other?
That is kind of up to you guys. So, at the moment, like I said, I kind of half expect everybody to play a gun fighter of some form or another. It's not required, but it's certainly useful. The only requirements that I do have is that your character would be invited to join a posse to go after a gang of very bad people. And so if you are a blacksmith who fights with nothing but badger chucks, you will likely not be invited to such a thing.
Damn it. Okay, now it's on to phase 2 of my idea. I was looking forward to the badger chucks.
I don't even know what that is.
Just as well.
2 badgers connected by, tie their tails together.
Oh.
Swing them around like nunchucks.
Actually, I think it's Gopher Chucks, but whatever. I never actually saw that movie.
So the posse is what's going to keep us together.
Yeah, so you guys will have at that initial incident that will get you together, even if you aren't at the beginning. So therefore, it's not a requirement that you guys are super friends at the beginning.
What about in terms of lawlessness versus less justice type characters? When-
I don't have a requirement in that regard. And as far as getting invited to the posse, I don't think that's going to have a huge effect. But don't play a complete asshole.
Oh, I guess what I'm saying, like, what if somebody's playing a lawman type, a marshal, sense of duty, honesty, like doing the right thing, and then somebody's playing more of a
Oh, right.
lawless character.
Yeah, that's kind of a situation for you guys to sort out how you want to handle the group mechanic. So I'll point back to your story at the beginning in that regard. Do we have inter-party drama, or do we not have inter-party drama?
Yeah, I got to figure out my character personality first. I don't know if what my dude is, other than a veteran.
Is this the sort of party that turns in one of their members for being a witch?
Well, I mean, if one of our characters was a priest of, forget the name of the religion, Sigmar, maybe.
Yeah, so that is really the point here when it comes to deciding about the group mechanic is if you do have, for example, the Holden from Expanse character in here, it's going to be really hard to have an actual outlaw also.
That's not true. He's got that guy with him.
But he's not so much an outlaw, and honestly, they did not get along very well at the beginning. But it could happen.
Well, for my character, he's intending to be a normal dude. He's not a bad guy or anything.
Now, in your particular case, I'm not certain how well that fits. I haven't heard a lot about the background other than what you posted online already. So,
Well, that's about all there is to the background this far.
I'd like to have an opportunity to do some gambling. I don't know. I feel like I'm in the Wild West. So like for social encounters or downtime or, in town type scenarios,
well,
have like
okay,
a
that's
compulsive
fair.
habit.
So let me put a note down that FX wants to gamble, which
And,
means
with
I'm
the,
going to have to figure out the mechanic for it.
and I'll say with the opportunity, not just like either to win or lose big, not just like, oh, you made $5 or whatever, or 5 cents.
High stakes, he says. Fair enough. All right. While you're thinking about the character situation, we have a couple of other questions to answer there, and that one of them is the naming convention, which I suggested, and nobody picked up on.
Because I forgot.
Rigel forgot. He at least knew about it. I don't require that we have a naming thing here. It's just something that I always like to do. FX, are you familiar with that? Do you know what we're talking about there?
I remember reading it. I remember you had said pick a character that's like based off of an actor, and then you had said something about the name. I don't remember the details, but I do remember you said it.
Well, there was so the Earthfall after the end game that I ran, we went with sci-fi authors, so everybody's character was named after a sci-fi author. I don't remember who all we had there. We had Heinlein and
First you had Heinlein.
That could be
Burroughs.
Isaac Asimov.
Burroughs. That's right.
Burroughs.
Yeah, it's been long enough. I don't remember them all. But there was a long time ago an older game that I did for the face-to-face group over here, and we did gun names for that one. So we had
It was the gun show.
It was the gun show. We had Remington, Colt, Barrett, Winchester. So I like doing that kind of thing, and it kind of gives everybody a sort of thing to work with.
Okay,
and
so
my
sci-fi
suggestion
authors,
here was the Western actors, but I really don't care.
like Clint Eastwood type That's the only one I could
Exactly.
think of.
Yeah, so it's like you would like have Eastwood as last name, and
Or
so
Clint.
I suppose. Yeah, I definitely have to keep my character's first name. I just have to change it to something else, or change the surname to something else. I'm not married to Snow.
So what, like one of the names would be based off of an actor, a Western actor?
Yeah, something like that.
Kind of reminds me of like Back to the Future when Marty was like, "Yeah, my name is Clint Eastwood." Oh, and then he also had what was the other one? Fruit of the Loom, or what was it? Yeah. Anyways,
Calvin Klein.
Calvin Klein. Yeah, that's right. That
Had
was
to
funny.
think about that one.
Yeah, the underwear. Okay.
Let's see. Oh, right. So the other thing was the Causawite, or as everybody will undoubtedly pronounce it, causa vitae. So that is going to be important. That is a requirement that you have a very solid one.
That's just cause, or what does that mean?
That is essentially a reason to live. So something to live for.
So the revenge story, that's something that you're gonna build in,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's not we, and then we have a reason to live.
Now, your reason to live could be a revenge story of its own.
Nope.
Doesn't need to be, but.
I
And
think I was
did.
leaning toward having a daughter, and even if she's not aware of it.
Right. Yeah, and I had suggested that everybody come up with a different one. Not all have the same thing, but that is not a requirement. That's just a suggestion.
Would it make sense to? I'm trying to remember like the Monster Hunter templates. They have like what do they call it? Like the motivation, like why you hunt.
Oh
And they
yeah,
had like they had like a
Yeah.
15-point disadvantage tied to it.
that's a good point. That's a really
Would it?
good idea.
I'm just
I don't remember how that worked.
It was just part of the lens, I think.
yeah. You just pick the lens, where they're like criminal,
I'm looking. I'm
soldier,
pulling it up now.
philanthropist, and that was like the reason. Why do you hunt monsters?
Oh, they just tied that into the lens.
Yeah, and then it was tied to a 15-point disadvantage.
I
So
think maybe.
so they had the game mechanics tied to it a little bit.
Yeah, I won't require a disadvantage to be tied to this, although it would certainly make sense to do that.
Motivational lens.
And
Page
yeah,
6.
the reason I said it was
Accidental
like
hero, avenger, atoner, chosen one, clergy, hired
Oh, okay.
operative. Oh, okay, yeah. And then they have a why we fight on page 7, where it's like compulsive thrill seeking, divine curse, duty, enemies, fanaticism, greed, obsession, sense of duty. So that's
yeah,
basically the same concept.
yeah. I was just thinking as an idea if I could model that after that.
Yeah,
Make
I
that.
think I'm gonna probably do that myself.
Well, you may
Mine
have to
may
tweak
just
it a
be
little
like
bit.
it may just be like a sense of duty and you know whatever.
That
But I'm definitely going to tie it in there.
in this case, I think it may need to be a bit more specific, and that depends on the thing. So, for example, I think having a sense of duty to other Americans or something like that would not quite be specific
No,
enough
it
to
would
work here,
be
but
more in my case. If it was sense of duty, it'd be either sense of duty or maybe obsession or something like that. But it'd be like about the daughter.
right. And that would be perfectly, that would be just about right, I think.
Can you give me an example of like reason to live? You know, besides the obvious. I don't want to.
What did I say?
Spouse,
having a
girlfriend,
family.
child.
Could it be an obsession, like a long-term goal?
So dreams, like having a dream to own your own land or something like that, and you have something very specific though.
Find the bastard who took your hat. You're
Promises
gonna
made.
get your hat back.
So, for example, you promised your dying wife that you were going to live, or you were going to live long enough to see something or other done, and revenge probably falls into that. So I guess that would be a vow or something like that.
What about you said it'd be kind of cool or interesting if I had, since I guess because I speak Spanish, have like
Oh, yeah.
a
I was mostly
Mexican.
joking about that, but
I mean, I'm cool with that. Maybe my guy's like from Mexico.
My character actually is, even though
Well,
he's Texan.
New
He's
Mexico
fr-
is part of the Four Corners area, so there's plenty of Mexicans
No,
around
he
here.
said from Mexico,
Well,
not
yeah, I
New
know.
Mexico.
And he's trying to bring his family, so that's why he needs to make money. That's why he got into
that's-
gambling. I don't know, so he can bring
Maybe,
his family. I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds like it's probably a good one.
So he'll do anything he needs to. You know, he's not a criminal, not a bad guy, not a murderer type, but he'll do whatever it takes to take care of his family. Yeah, even if it takes maybe morally ambiguous choices.
Does it need to be a
Even
short
a bad man
term?
loves his mama.
Is it a short term thing or a longer term thing? Or can it be longer term?
I would say longer is probably better in this case. Having a goal
reason
that's
to
super
live?
easy.
I would kind
Yeah.
of hope that reason to live is a long-term goal.
Well, I'm thinking because my character is from New Zealand, he's a Maori, he wants to get home. You know, he can't die on a foreign shore. Would that be goal enough or reason enough to live?
I could kind of see that actually. Might need to chew on that a bit, refine it, but yeah.
Reason being, he's a tribal prince. You know, not first in line, but a couple down.
Yeah.
That he knows of.
The issue I would have with that right there is why is he in the Four Corners area then?
Because, well, the story was, I don't know if you read the events, but when the British colonised New Zealand, they would take the tribal chiefs' sons away to be educated and stuff like that, as a means of ensuring peace between the tribes. So he served on a British in the British Navy, went to the West Indies, served his time. He was discharged after his time. He took a merchantman that was headed back to New Zealand. Unfortunately, it was marooned, lost in a storm, and he was on an island. He was picked up by slavers, sold to a southern industrialist. Then that's how we got here. And from then, he's been everywhere.
Okay, so there's a slight problem with that in that slavery is in fact illegal at this point.
Right, but this guy's 54 years old. So,
well, slavery was illegal as of around 10 years ago, so
Yeah, so
Uh,
he's spent the last, I don't know, 10 or more years, because he may have escaped.
yeah.
Throw in a nice prison sentence.
Yeah, so then the question comes back to, if it's been 10 years, why the hell is he in the Four Corners area? Why isn't he on the coast at least? Should be in San Francisco trying to get out.
Well, he's been everywhere. He's just learning, but he wants to get home.
Okay,
When he's
then,
done with
so
his,
the problem then is, if you are tethered to this town for some reason, he would have had to come here to Babylon and decided to stay for some reason.
because whatever's going on in Babylon is his current gig. And eventually, when that
Okay.
time's up and he's ready to go home, he will head home.
So he's like under contract or something like that.
Yeah,
Working on
yeah.
a ranch.
Yeah.
He
Sounds
may
awesome.
have his own ranch, but I've built him as like a jack of all trades. He actually has the jack of all trades talent, and
Yeah,
he's like,
I glanced over that, and every time I was like thinking, "Oh, okay, I think I'll build that." Nope, don't need that because Ronki's got that skill set covered.
well, it doesn't
Jack
help.
of all trades isn't that good.
It just means
No,
your
I meant for
defaults are
the
less.
various. I just because I was thinking, oh, maybe I can do a tracker. Oh, he's got a 16 in track. Don't need to do that.
But he's the sort of character that's been everywhere, done everything. He's, you know, what did I list here? He's been a smith, train engineer, trail boss, prospector, translator, trailblazer, map maker, hunter. He's done ranching. He's been to like Canada, Mexico, across the US. Speaks 3 indigenous languages: French and Spanish.
Okay, so I think the way I would word all that then would be that it's not that he's trying to get home. It's that he doesn't want to end up dying here because he needs to go home and die there.
Yeah,
He's just not necessarily done here yet.
correct.
Okay. I can see that. So he just refused to die because he can't do that here.
Correct.
Yeah, that kind of works. When it comes to traits right now, the only thing that I've been tossing around really is I think I'm going to go with no wealth. Because I don't think it's going to matter a whole lot.
Then I want all the stuffs.
So you'll have your standard starting gear, mostly what you got on you at the time, and I'll be somewhat flexible in that regard. But I'm gonna more or less assume that you've got a place to stay and whatever is appropriate to the character in that way. So don't feel the need to buy an entire ranch with your starting wealth.
So should we avoid getting a set of or a specific wealth status?
That's what I mean.
So we should not go, oh, I'm going to be struggling or anything like that. It's like, yeah, don't worry about that.
Yep.
So are we doing the spent 80% of your starting wealth, and it assumes you have a house, horse, wardrobe, and all that sort of stuff? You only really need to pick
so
your adventuring gear.
I put on the rules that that is going to be optional, whether you do the 80-20 rule or not. If you do the 80-20 rule, I will assume that the 80% is legit. You have whatever it says you have.
Okay.
Let's see. Yeah, so outside of the causa vitae and the naming stuff, the only other thing I was going to bring up was auxiliary characters. So I am probably going to allow enemies and all the usual other things. If we do that, I probably will pre-roll that stuff the way I did for Sea Dogs. And we'll use the ascending frequency, which FX probably doesn't know what that means. So that rule that I did for Sea Dogs was that, for example, if you have an enemy with a frequency of 6, and you roll that enemy and it fails to appear, I raise the frequency by 1 every time until he actually shows up.
I've been doing that in Warhammer.
That's right, you have been.
And I reset it every time. But Brian keeps going, I'm going to roll a 5 or a 4. I'm like, okay.
Need to tell me so I can turn off the GM hacks.
Just means I keep having the secret come up.
Allies, dependents, all that stuff is legal here. It'll kind of depend on you whether or not you want to do that. But if you actually pay the points for it, I will see to it that it gets used. So this isn't a situation like Redacted where you're limited in what you could potentially have there. Now, primarily for Mel's and Ronki's characters, there is with Sea Dogs, I said that I was going to be using a relaxed acknowledgement of the sexism and racism of the time period. That will also be the case here. However, if you decide to take the social stigma for being not white or being a woman doing a man's job, then I will see that gets used. If you decide not to take those, then I will not bother about it. I will simply acknowledge that the thing exists and move on. So it's up to you whether or not you want to be given grief.
Well, I think it's probably appropriate to take the social stigma.
I mean, it would be very appropriate realistically, but I would understand if you didn't want to deal with it. I guess if FX ends up playing a Mexican, that may apply to him as well.
I'll probably take it.
I'll give it some thought. I'm not sure yet. I have to do a lot of tweaking anyway.
Yeah.
It's only going to be in the vicinity of like -1 reaction modifier.
Yeah, probably not more than that. I don't know why you would otherwise.
But if Hollywood Westerns have taught us anything, is they're racist all over the place.
Yeah, I kind of think they maybe overcompensate a little.
Wait, are you telling me Hollywood lied to me? That's impossible.
Depends if it's in color or not.
That's a good way of putting it, actually. It's like, man, where did all the racists come from once it came into color? Well, it was all black and white. They couldn't tell the
Well,
difference.
no, see the older movies like that, the racism was on the other side of the lens. It still weirds me out how they used to do that thing where they had, friggin' Kirk Douglas playing an Indian because they can't have actual Indians playing Indians.
Which reminds me,
John Wayne played Genghis Khan.
our
John freaking Wayne.
the indigenous populations around the game area. Does anyone know what they would be?
I can tell you that there is a lot of Navajo and Hopi and those types of tribes in that area. I'd have to get
Pueblo
back to
type.
you on the specifics, though. So a lot of the same ones that we were running into in the Monster Hunters game, to be fair.
Cool. Werewolves.
Well, I need two of the local languages.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, definitely. Just brain farted completely. Definitely Navajo.
Yeah. So most of the Four Corners region belongs to Navajo, Hopi, Ute, Zuni. So I'd probably go Navajo and Hopi.
Apache is probably the big bad guy tribe in the area.
What tribes are we likely to encounter if we encounter them?
Any of those. If they're bad guys, they're probably Apache. I think the Comanche were farther east. And otherwise, yeah, the Navajo and those other ones that we mentioned are more reasonable.
All right, so Navajo and Apache should cover it.
Yeah, the Sioux and all the actual tribes that make up the Sioux are farther north, if memory serves. Although you could still run into them.
Well, I also have one British Columbian
Okay.
indigenous language as well to pick. That's probably a question for Nosh.
That's true. Let's see. So rules. At this point, as usual, I am going to use Fantastic Dungeon Grappling. I kind of half expect that we will very rarely see it, if at all, because that's how the game usually crumbles. We have identified a couple of trouble spots already in there. I will try to deal with those trouble spots before we run into them. Other than that, I am open to modification of my general setup there. The only other one that I was considering is the optional wounding rules in high tech, which would mean using bleeding and that sort of thing. Which technically was the case in Sea Dogs, and we just didn't run into it that often.
I've
Just the
been
one time.
itching to play like a medical kind of guy, doctor. We've just never really had the game where it was relevant.
Yeah, I guess you missed all the ones before where it was. Yeah, if you wanted to do that, this would be a good one for it, and I would beat you over the head with all the realistic penalties.
Which
So
can
maybe
be kind of fun.
if he could be
How
like a doctor for that era with a gambling habit, because I still want to do the gambling thing.
Would he be called Doc by chance?
Doc Holiday.
Doc
Yeah.
Calendar or something.
Yeah,
We
calendar.
can't use holiday. No, wait,
That's
not
trademarked.
yeah, well, we can't use a need to be like, Doc Wayne or Doc Hughes or Doc Bronson or something.
Ooh, Doc Bronson. I like
Holiday
that.
was a dentist anyway.
Eh.
And
Yeah, if you decide to go that route, I would definitely get with Rigel on that because of
It
his
could be
Sea Dogs
fun.
experience.
Yes, it's you need to get into the mindset of when I open this guy up, I might kill him. This is going to be great. Are you looking forward to me killing you, fellow PC? And then I have to roll really well, and it's not as much fun. Go,
Yeah,
oh man.
if you end up having a cut on somebody, they have to really want that to happen.
well, I think if I can start with like what do they call it? The surgeon's bag
Mm-hmm.
for that for that period of time, obviously, which would be basic equipment for surgery, but maybe fine equipment for first aid.
Yeah, if he's a fixture around the area here, then it's
And I'll give him a
possible he could end
reputation.
up having a shop and have all the stuff there.
I can give him a reputation, good or bad. I'll have to think
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. And an addiction to laudanum and yada yada yada.
I think he'll just have
Intolerant
he'll be
to
greedy.
squatters.
He'll be greedy.
how lethal will the campaign be? And if we get shot, is there enough time to, recover from getting shot?
Okay, so that is a good question. As lethal as
Congratulations,
GURPS
Brian.
can
You asked a
be
good question.
in that regard, I would say that expect to get killed at some point, but you know how GURPS
You'll have a
goes.
doc.
I have yet to legitimately kill a PC, so even when I fully intended to.
All right. If we do get
outside of
injured,
that,
is there going to be time to heal?
so there's obviously no magical healing, and as far as time to heal goes, that's kind of going to be up to you guys. So you're kind of going to determine your own clock here. So if you decide you need to take a week or a month or something like that to convalesce after a thing, then that's up to you guys. So to answer your question, yes, possibly.
Well, that's the other thing that I was thinking about for Doc. Like, if we can just go say, well, we're going to take 30 days of rest and get all our hit points back. There's no point in doctor.
Yep. No, yeah. If we're using the realistic wounding stuff, then we're going to have chances of getting infections and stuff like that, and you're going to have surgery in order to dig a bullet out, that kind of thing. So it's not going to be a simple matter of resting until your hit points top off. There will be some risk involved. And if you're the one doing it, you have the ability to have luck or something like that in your favor.
Don't take luck. It's more fun that way.
I think he'll have a reputation of like, yeah, he can cure you of anything, just never come out quite the same way as you went in. You know, you'll be missing like a body part or something like that.
Oops. Still haven't found my forceps. Yeah, so other than that, I'm just using my standard house rules, which I have already shared. But I think you guys can actually see that.
Oh, you did the thing.
I did the thing.
Cool. So this is the advanced thing?
No, this is the book. So all it is a
Interesting.
collection of stories. Yeah, I haven't found a spot where I wanted to use the advanced story yet.
So it sounds like we have a doctor and a guy who has everything else. And then I didn't actually look at what Mel's character was going to be.
Currently going for like any Oakley sharpshooter kind of thing.
Okay.
Speaking of that, I wanted to show you something that Phil has already seen.
Uh-oh. Oh, right, that thing.
So I would have to update it because I did not include fanning or thumbing on there, and this particular game would actually benefit from having them. So I'd probably need to add it. But this has been play tested and it does work.
Okay.
So those of you that are modifierically challenged might benefit from using something like this. I'll go ahead and set it up on a spreadsheet or on a separate spreadsheet for our use and get you all your own separate section. But make note that in the K column at the top there, it will actually assemble a /mod command.
Cool.
So you can actually cut and paste it into the chat, and it will actually place that mod in your mod box.
I see. So we just go. The intent is to have this like checkbox where you like check, 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 check. All this stuff applies, and then boom, go. It's like copy paste.
Yep.
It's actually what I sort of do already, but I have to do that for every character, and I create the modifiers.
Yeah, and some of them are so like it actually handles the range calculation on there, and it will actually do vertical range and stuff like that. So I've got a bunch of sections for all the ridiculous other rules and fast firing and all that crap. So it should have everything covered, with the exception of fanning and thumbing, which I didn't add.
Cool. I like it. I got a laser.
I was thinking about on the one for this campaign, I should probably remove a couple of those.
Nah. I want to have a laser. And everybody's like, what?
He's back from the future.
Mm-hmm. I'll just keep it on my GM copy. Okay. So at this point, I have said that I intend to have you guys tethered to an HQ town. It will be Babylon, Colorado, unless I change my mind. It will be very small town.
I like the name.
And at this point, I thought I would throw out to you guys if you want any particular character types in that town. If you have any suggestions regarding populating it, then I can try to work some of that in.
Need whores and hookers.
Obviously.
And
Is there a
There should-
railroad going through there?
And every one of the whores in this town will be a whore of Babylon.
Boom, boom.
and maybe a local lawman.
Also obvious.
And then I guess
Yeah,
what Rigel
I've
was
got
saying
a
is
handful
maybe
of the ones that I want to
business,
do.
some
But
sort
if
of
you want to talk like casting, or if you got something a little off the wall, you're like, I want a Chinese noodle guy, you know.
maybe no, I guess you got it. Like a businessman, a local businessman that thinks he owns a town. Is that going to be a thing?
Actually, that kind of is. Where did that list go? Or did I put that on the other sheet? I think I put that on the other one. Yeah, I haven't really filled that part out yet, but that was kind of the plan. I do intend to fill it out a little bit, and have some things going on in town. So try to make it a little bit more lively than just a bunch of cardboard cutouts with decision trees.
Yeah, I get that. I keep hating myself for not doing my NPCs properly.
And outside of the town itself, if you guys have wishes, expectations, features that you want to be included here, do bring those up. FX has already said he wanted gambling, which is going to be some work for me.
Are there any rivers, like river boats, like river gambling boats?
Oh,
That
I
might be
don't think
cool.
there is actually a big river in that area. Certainly not like the Mississippi.
So just have a place in town.
And this is a little podunk town, so whatever's happening here is not going to be big. Now, I did say, and it is still true, that you guys will be ranging about a little, so you will go to other places. And if gambling at a big, high stakes place is a thing that you want, then I'll make sure that you get there.
I also like
Actually,
to take area knowledge. Is there a particular area knowledge that that's useful?
There's actually a decent river right there. About 45 yards wide. What river is that? San Juan? Area knowledge. So, I mean, you could take the Four Corners, and that would cover multiple states just at a lower resolution. You could take Colorado itself, or even southwestern Colorado, which would cover a larger area than just the town itself. In your case, if you're going from Old Mexico, then there may be a specific trail going there that might be useful. I think there's like a New Mexico trail, but that one's going east-west. Maybe misremembering that though. So there are some potentials there.
Okay. Cool.
And to think if there's anything I need to ask. I think I have to figure out my character now.
So I really want to get a stagecoach chase in there somewhere. I've been trying to do that for multiple campaigns now and haven't been able to make it work.
Yep.
So
Okay.
there's an expectation. I want to do that.
Translation, somebody's going to need to make sure they have Teamster. Bronchi probably already has it.
Ooh,
Yeah, he probably already.
He
I think
does.
Doc might have it. You know, maybe he's got like a little carriage that he sometimes goes to other towns, or like a stagecoach or something like that.
Carriage is more likely.
Yeah, I got to figure out what direction I want to take my character in.
Well, so if Mel's character is going to focus on sharpshootering, then she's going to have long range covered, which means short range specialist would probably be open. So you could do the pistolier again.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, just things for me to think about.
Yeah, Mel's character needs to go full on Calamity Jane, so she says fuck every 5 seconds.
Nice.
That was weird. I for whatever reason, I was checking the population levels of certain towns, and I actually looked at Deadwood for that period. It's like 10,000. It's a big freaking town for that period.
Right. What else do we need?
Honestly, that was most of my my questions. We just need to decide on the name thing, what you're gonna do. Can't
Yeah, I'm cool with the naming thing where we get use Western actor last names or something like that.
And I guess outside of that, need to settle on the overall character mechanic, how you guys want to do that, whether you want to have the drama or not. At this point, it sounds well. Okay, there is one other thing we'll end up needing to deal with is why they're in town. So we've kind of talked about that with Ronki's character. If X's character is, if he is going to go with the doc, he may have a shop in town, so that's a good reason for him to be there. Ulysses' daughter, I think he was talking about, his daughter might
Yep.
be here, whether
Yeah,
she knows
she'd
it's
be
him or
like
not.
she'd be like married to local rancher or whatever, and he's working on the
Yeah.
working on the farm.
Okay, so that works. Guess then it's just up to Mel's character.
Yeah, I'm not sure yet. I have a couple of ideas, but I want to hash them out first.
Yeah, okay. Well, shouldn't be too hard. I think if we've got everybody else here working her in, shouldn't be too difficult.
Yeah. So
And
one of the ideas I had is like she owns the brothel, so she's like the
She's the madam.
yeah.
Nice.
Sweet.
Either that or she like either that or this local saloon or something like that. She's like a
And
business
maybe
owner.
and maybe she hosts that high stake gambling thing like once whatever a month, or and people go there and you have to have a special invitation to get in.
Yeah.
she ends up being the madam at the whorehouse. I surely hope she didn't work there,
Why not?
because there could be some awkward moments between some of the other PCs.
Wahahaha.
What's the character that was owned the the trading house saloon in the pirate show? Is it
Fergie?
He's thinking Black Sails. He's
Black
probably
Sails?
talking-
Yeah,
No.
The blonde
Oh,
chick.
right. Guthrie.
that's it. Be something like Guthrie.
So yeah, we can hash it out and see if it'll actually work.
Yeah, so let's see. You know, in some ways, he could end up with sort of an all outsiders party here.
How do you mean?
Well, we got one guy that's Maori. We got a chick doing a man's job. We got potentially a Mexican. And then the only other one here is Ulysses, and he could be sort of a guy that just showed up recently.
I'm thinking
Yeah,
not, or maybe not making my guy Mexican. He'll be American, but he was married to a Mexican, and
That
maybe
could work
that's
too.
part of his revenge story. You know, maybe she was killed by racist, you know, Gringos, and he's looking for the people and something like that. You know, and then he could still speak Spanish because he learned it from her.
Yeah, the whole Spanish thing is less funny if other characters actually speak it. So
and it sounds
don't
like at
feel locked
least
into that.
3 of us are going to be speaking it.
I only thought that would be fun because if I actually use Spanish, you'd actually know what I said, and the other players would not. I just thought it'd be funny if you actually had to translate for him. But Phil's character is definitely going to speak Spanish.
Yeah, so my character is actually Texan, but he spent the entire Civil War, American Civil War, further south, fighting in the it's the French intervention in Mexico. Basically, the French decided to invade Mexico, and lots of crap happened. And I was also trying to be kind of a smart ass because I said, "Oh, he has been away from home for 20 years." Because, Ulysses.
A couple of historical notes. The James Gang is still active in this period. I think that business ends in 1879, according to the notes that I got.
Sounds right.
And when it comes to Billy the Kid, the Lincoln County War is currently ongoing.
Gosh, hope we don't get sucked into that.
Well, that's Nebraska, wasn't it?
We're going to be ranging. We could be ranging really far.
Regulators, mount up.
That would be funny if you guys ended up getting killed by him.
Did you say, going back to the wealth question,
Mm-hmm.
that we could or could not take different levels of wealth?
My current thinking is that I don't think the wealth advantage is really useful here. Now, in your case, if you were thinking of him being wealthier, you might actually take status, and that would still be useful. But the wealth advantage really only affects your starting wealth.
Right, and then the maximum amount of wealth that you could accumulate without having to spend your
I don't
money.
think that's going to be relevant here. If you decide he's going to have a shop and all that stuff, he'll have a shop and all that stuff.
Yeah, because I was thinking doing the 80-20 rule, just basic kind of, the 20% to get whatever crap I want, but then the other percent is going to be like his shop and supplies and gear and equipment. Just kind of have that in the background.
Yeah, I'll try to get some stuff up about the town since I, come up with it onto the wiki, so you guys at least have some idea of the dynamic there, and probably the bad guys as well, since you'll know who they are when you're going after them.
It's going to be a bunch of different images of Nicolas Cage from various movies.
Oh, how tempted I am. He may just be the town drunk. I'll put him down as the town drunk.
Ooh, I got it. I'm gonna change my character. I'm gonna play Anthony Hopkins in Zorro.
Let's not go that route. Honestly, as much as I really like the Jericho. I like playing that character, but he couldn't work here because you'd have to have Weapon Master in order to make that character actually functional.
No, it's fine. It's just I have to give it some thought, figure out exactly how I want to approach the character. I mean, I've got the background, and honest, pistol's fine, but rifle makes more sense. And
Driver. Horse guy.
horse guy.
Yeah, he could be the pilot.
We're not flying a ship.
Well, yeah, but the getaway driver, whatever. If you're looking for another thing, that might be one.
No, I'll get it. It's just I have to sit there and do some thinking. Because we definitely going to have a whole lot of overlap in some areas.
Yeah, and I don't know that that bothers me necessarily. Again, it's kind of up to you guys how you want the character mechanic to work. It would probably be wise to not over specialize.
Well, my character's definitely the outdoors guy. He's got his survival and tracking and navigation, all those things that he's really good at.
Probably also worth remembering that Mel may not be available for at least some of this.
Mhm.
Yeah, she's got a brothel to run.
I know, right? So I figure if I ever have to miss, then she can just be at the business.
That works for all of us. If any of us have to miss,
We're at her business.
We're at her business.
Yep.
Yeah, actually, if Deadwood has taught me anything, it's that FX's character is going to be working at her business as much as she is.
Oh.
I'll just take all his money.
They kept the duck busy.
So that's probably, it sounds like cost of living and all that stuff's not really going to be a thing.
I'm gonna say no. No, I don't know that I want to get into the nuts and bolts of that, unless you guys say that you do. And I feel the same way about the travel stuff. If you really want to do that whole slice of life travel stuff, we can do that. I don't plan on that unless you guys want it. Same thing with like the whole cattle drives and stuff. We did a lot of that sort of thing in the Frome County thing, and I just didn't want to deal with that here. I thought this would be a bit more of a focused story.
Yep, sounds good.
Also, I guess I would say that the theme is dark. Not necessarily
Full of
grimdark.
terrors?
Are we going to encounter the Daniverse?
This is in the Daniverse, and I did say that there would be some subtle supernatural.
So my other idea about being an immortal is right out.
Yeah, that's a little more overt and expensive. But delusions are cheap.
You could be a member of the clergy and you know things.
With cultural familiarity,
Mm.
would you have to do that per indigenous,
Yes,
or would
they are. all
I would check the 3rd edition for that, because I have no doubt that they discussed that there. I think culture familiarity was a thing in 3rd edition.
not sure if it
Actually,
was.
now that I think about it, I'm not sure it is.
No, you're gonna need to do them per.
I know
per,
realistically
region.
they're considered separate, but for GURPS 4th edition purposes, I don't know that they would be treated separately that way.
You might be able to split it up like cultural familiarity, Plains tribes, cultural familiarity, Algonquin tribes, stuff like that.
Yeah, now you might skip that, and
Because
I
the
would
Cherokee
probably.
are vastly different in terms of culture than the Apache.
If you wanted to and you thought you were going to use a lot of those, then I might be willing to allow the cultural chameleon, social chameleon, whatever it is, that basically just lets you assume that you have all the cultural familiarities.
That
Is
sounds
that
awfully.
a perk advantage?
That is an advantage. And while it is
Probably need to
considered
double check.
cinematic, it is
It
in
should
some
be.
cases just practical.
Social chameleon's not quite for cultural familiarities.
There was one that was. I did finally codify it into my house rules, but if you have a template on your character, then you don't need to excuse updating or putting points into those traits associated with that template.
Have to find a template.
Yeah, some of the tactical shooting templates may still apply. Obviously, martial arts, depending on the martial art. Outside of that, I'm not sure. There was one other rules question we needed to sort out was advancement. So my leaning at this point is the 1 point advancement, the slow advancement. That is also up to you guys. I do kind of expect this to be a quote unquote limited campaign, in that once you have exacted your revenge, it will be over.
Cultural adaptability. That's the skill advantage you're thinking of.
That's the one.
Oh, that's 10 points.
Yeah, it's not cheap, so you would have to have a lot of cultural familiarities before that one starts making sense.
It does say, though, under cultural familiarity, that it is fairly broad.
Yeah, I think I would probably have you define the individual tribes that you've had contact with, and assume that the ones that are outside of that are sort of at like a -3 or something like that.
Well, it'd probably be the ones that I can speak.
Definitely the ones you speak the language for.
Yeah, so there's 2.
Well, I mean, I guess that's not necessarily required. You can learn the language of the enemy without really learning their culture necessarily, although they tend to go together.
So if I spend like 1 point cultural familiarity, tribes I know, would that cover it? Or would it have to be one point for each tribe?
Let me look into that. There are a couple of pyramid articles or pyramids that I can think of that might actually cover this. Because there's the one issue that's historical exploration or whatever it is. I'm sure that goes over that. I'm going to make a note. I need to look at that. Yeah. I'm actually kind of leaning at the moment toward doing it the way Phil was talking about with the planes versus whatever sort of tribal groups. Just given the scope of the campaign, it probably makes sense to do it that way. All right. Well, really, that's basically all I got. Honestly, thought I could drag that out a little longer.
You failed.
Is Mexican or Mexico a different cultural familiarity?
That's
or would it still be considered Western?
That's another one that would kind of falls under the resolution problem. So if I end up breaking it up by tribe or by tribal groups, then Mexican probably would be a group that I would consider separate. But at the same time, while Mexican culture is different, it's not that different.
They were colonized. Well, there's a lot of colonial influence, I imagine.
Well, but the American culture and the Mexican culture are still rooted in European culture. So even though they do differ enough that it is noticeable the differences between the two, you could still interact with them without too much trouble. And that's really what it comes down to. Do you actually get a -1 interacting with them?
Well, it's a -3 if you don't have it.
I thought it was... No, you're right, 3.
But if you look at the example, the culture of familiarity, you've got East Asian, Muslim, and Western. If you look at the East Asian, there's a lot of different cultures considered East Asian.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've got Japanese,
Yeah,
Chinese,
so with that
Indonesian.
in mind, yeah, with that in mind, you probably could get away with just saying Native American is a cultural familiarity.
I'm sure there's a lot of similarities with. There'd be more similarities than differences, I imagine.
I don't know if I would agree with that, but then I would be the wrong person to really say that because I'm thinking more in the historical terms.
Well, I'll take Native American until told otherwise.
Yeah, I'm scrolling through this stuff to see if I can find a proper template that I would like. And not so much.
Templates where?
Oh, I went to the what is it, GURPS.fandom.com. They have
Oh, right.
a list of all of the templates in that are currently in GURPS.
And that includes pyramid.
Maybe I'm looking to see if I see references to pyramids.
Do they not have that sort of thing in 3rd
It
edition?
doesn't look that way, actually. What pyramid
Oh.
should I be looking for?
Well, I don't know right off the top of my head.
That's unacceptable.
That's funny. What kind of a GM are you?
I know, right? Oh yeah, and then there's this forums at the Steve Jackson forums thread that's got all of the official ones, which does reference pyramids.
Okay, 3rd edition Old West has character types, but it doesn't have, they're not actually templates. Which still may be useful. Oh, I also put this on the wiki on the campaign rules part, but for character creation, just use standard GURPS for everything, and after character creation, it will be local currency. So same thing we're kind of doing with Warhammer. And I have a big list of prices.
Of course you do.
Aces and eights.
You finally got that, huh?
Yeah, I got that from Mark. I'm still thinking about ripping off the town map from there.
Oh, you guys already put character concepts on there. That's why I'm I'm behind the 8 ball here. I'm looking at the
on
wiki
where?
now.
Oh, our wiki, yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Well,
Oh, you mean the boards?
mine really isn't so much a character concept as this is the face I'm going to use and this is the general background I have in mind. Beyond that, I don't know what the character is yet.
All right. So just yeah. So I do like the doctor idea as long as as long as it's going to be useful. But if it's not, then I don't want to go that route again. But I like the
You can
idea of
always
playing
use a
that kind of
doctor.
Well,
and
so
then
my general GMing rule is if you make a doctor character and you want to go into the detail of getting all the skills and the equipment for it, I'm going to make sure you get a chance to use it.
okay. Yeah, so that's kind of my thought then is he'll be a doctor type. I think I'm interested in the gambling. I don't know. I always like money in these games. Is hasn't quite hit that, satisfied that sweet tooth of.
Yeah, we keep almost getting there.
So I think he wants to be a gambler, like on the side, not his main thing, but he'll be good at it. And then maybe have some sort of this compulsion there of gambling. And he'll be generally a good guy, like sense of duty towards people in general or his companions. So he'll get along well with others. But then I guess whatever the revenge thing is, that might play into his darker side, I suppose. That's what I'm thinking.
That works.
Maybe he's secretly looking for his wife's killers and they don't know that he's the husband and he's like, yeah, sure, I'll help you with that, whatever. I got band-aids. And then he'll like chop them up into pieces and scatter them.
Okay, so thinking about that then, if you've got your own revenge plot going there and that hasn't happened yet, then it'll be up to you whether you take like an enemy. And if you take the enemy, then he'll be a separate thing from the campaign. And so he'll show up on his frequency or whatever, or you'll get clues as to his whereabouts. However, I decide that's going to work. But yeah, so if you take a trait related to that guy as separate from the main bad guys of the story, then I'll treat it as a separate thing.
I don't know. I'm not necessarily. I didn't. I'm not.
I know
can
you
go
haven't
either
thought
way.
about it that far ahead.
Yeah, I was just kind of trying to give ideas, but I'm happy to go with what fits the story as well, and what's the
Yeah,
word,
the
like
other choice
tie it
there
into
is
my character.
if you have a specific revenge thing going on, like with the wife being killed, and you want one of the main bad guys to be that guy, then that's easy enough, and we just work that in.
Sure.
But in that case, you don't need a separate disad for that.
Death by origin story.
Okay, so I'm looking at the website. I'm sure there's a point somewhere on there. Okay, another wiki where it talks about the points, character points, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
Yeah, I guess if you're just not looking into that, you may not actually know.
Campaign wiki, and then you have
That
the
is
campaign
actually
information.
another thing should probably bring up is everybody good with the 200, or do we need to go up or down on that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yep, I'm good with 200.
200 is good.
That's pretty competent. Yeah, we can make some pretty competent characters, I think.
I suppose it's also worth mentioning if you, for example, were to put your pistol skill up to like 18, that will mean that you're probably one of the best shooters in the world. And I will
And
treat it as such.
somebody's gonna be looking to test their skill against yours, take you down.
It would be very sensible if you had a skill that high that you have a reputation as well.
Yeah, I'm thinking about that, and it's just like, I don't know.
On the other hand, there are
I
plenty
will
of
figure it
stories
out.
of people like Doc Holliday and Jesse James emptying a revolver at point blank range and hitting absolutely nothing.
Yep. One day I will figure this out.
1 point per session. I hate that.
You can make your case.
Well, my case would be, especially at 200 points, like we'll have skills that are worth, like, I mean, I don't know, it'd be like they're like 4 point skills, or it'd be really hard to raise any of our main skills because they're pretty much, you'd have to play for like 2 months. So points are good for like new skills or really low level, 1 point skills to raise them to 2 points, 2 CP.
Yeah, I guess I would add that in this particular instance, based on the limited understanding of how the story is going to go, I don't know if there's actually going to be a legitimate enough downtime for time spent to apply, so you may not get the extra skill points for that training stuff.
Oh,
How many sessions do you expect it to run?
Well, I'm only planning on running for 6 sessions for this run. Now, the whole thing itself is going to kind of depend on you guys. I don't expect you to get through the whole thing. In fact, I kind of expect you're only going to get through 1 out of 6 guys.
So,
You go to their house and burn it down while they're all in it.
Yeah, but you got to find out where his house is first.
so
It's over
this 6-run session will be basically tracking down one guy.
That's kind of my thinking. 1, maybe 2. It depends
Okay.
on how focused you are and how quickly we get through stuff. And if I throw you into a gigantic 30-man fight.
I think if we're only going to do a short run, like 6 sessions, and given what FX was saying about, our high level skills are already going to have, multiple points in it. I think 2 points a session will make characters advance. Otherwise, we're not in 6 sessions. We're going to increase one 4-point skill. Or lots of 1-point skills.
Okay. So motion and second, and then I think I may look into setting some kind of real-time limit, or game time limit, I guess would be more accurate, on how often you can raise a particular skill. But we'll see about that, I guess.
Well, you're still going to be
So,
limited
where
on
is that?
points.
Yeah, well, obviously you still got to pay for it, but for example, if we run 6 sessions and it's taken the span of a week, don't expect you to be able to bump your pistol skill up 3 levels. And in case anybody missed that, I'm using bennies. You won't get nearly as many bennies as redacted, though.
But are you using achievements?
I am not
Ooh.
planning on using achievements. I don't.
Why not?
I don't think
Oh,
that
man.
fits here as much. That was kind of a one-off thing. And if
Right.
Rigel gives me any crap about that, I'll just remind him that we were supposed to have achievements for
That's not
Warhammer.
true. He said the GM said he was thinking about it and just hasn't finished thinking about what they should be.
By the time his run is over.
Yes, maybe. Right. Okay. Well, I clearly have homework and things that I need to figure out. Like my freaking character.
How about an explosives expert? You used to work on the railroads or mining or something like that. Got tons of dynamite everywhere. Don't know what
Yeah,
to do
my
with it.
character was mostly a soldier, and then he was for a good period of time he was stuck in a prison working on railroad stuff. So yeah, he is going to know railroad stuff. But I don't know if there are any railroads going through this particular area off the top of my head.
Right. That was the other thing you asked about. And I would have to look at a historical map.
Yep.
And if the opportunity arises, if you want to include it, my character can drive a steam engine.
Chain trace.
It sounds good for the chase.
That's actually a useful point there. So
Train
if you guys
chase.
want there to be a railroad through town, or at least nearby town, I can relocate to somewhere where there's a railroad. So if that's a thing that you actually want, let me know and I can adjust for that.
Well, we also
you don't need to
know that there
relocate.
isn't one.
You're making up fake Babylons. You can make up fake railways.
And it just
Well,
gets
I'd
blown
like
up.
to keep it as real as possible.
I think if you had a railroad coming in or through town or near town, that opens it up to exposed to people can get there quicker, businesses, goods, stuff
Yep,
like that.
that is the point of a railroad.
It's not quite as isolated. I don't know like what your vision is for this town in terms of it being
Well,
isolated from, or staying small.
my understanding is that there are quite a few railroads coming through the West at this point in various states of assembly. But generally speaking, any town, anywhere out here is going to be X number of miles away from an appropriate rail site or a train station. So everybody is still going to get out here by rail. It's just a matter of whether they got to drive a few hours after that in order to get to the town they're going to. So rail will be a thing. But if you want it to actually go through town, just let me know.
Yeah, I don't have an opinion yet.
I'm neutral on it.
Well, if it's a little dinky town, then there's probably not a rail through the town, but there might be one, next town over or something.
Right. What else do you need from us?
I can't think of a whole lot else outside of general inspiration and motivation, the usual.
Can't help you with
Oh,
that.
right. That reminds me. I kept assuming that FX was going to just rip off Red Dead.
I might.
Turns
I'm
out
not
he's
very
not.
creative. What do you mean in terms of what?
The main character.
Oh, I'm not 100% familiar with that game.
Oh, I thought you were talking about that like you were playing it.
Was I? I think I may. I don't remember. I know I mean, I'm familiar. I'm aware of it. I was looking
Yeah.
at. I was looking at the Deadlands.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned
The
Deadlands
Huckster.
and you mentioned Red Dead Redemption at the same time, or one of the Red Deads, and I thought you had said that you were playing it.
No, I'm not playing it. Um, really, I think when you had mentioned the Wild West, I just kind of did a Google search and I'm like, ooh, Deadlands, ooh, Red Dead Redemption, just to kind of get ideas. But I've never played them.
Oh, you haven't played Deadlands either?
No.
Original flavor is best flavor. I have very fond memories of Deadlands.
That is so the original Deadlands system, which eventually ended up becoming Pinnacle and ended up becoming Savage Worlds. The original version of it was still the most unique system I can think of for an RPG.
And the most fun out of the versions of Deadlands.
Because they use cards for everything, cards and poker chips.
Well, you still use dice, but
And dice, but also cards and poker chips. Like initiative is all cards based. They have like plot point kind of stuff, and that's all chips.
lots of fun.
And you were noticing the thing about the hucksters, the spellcasters using cards, and so they would do
Yep.
a card draw.
Yep. So you'd make the whatever the spell casting roll was, and then you draw like a number of cards based off of the result, and you had to try to create like a poker hand.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was really neat. And it's just like, oh crap, I got nothing here. Well, that spell went to crap, and it did not work. Oh, I got a full house. Ooh, that made that spell really awesome. Super awesome system. All right. Well,
I think I have everything I need for my character to finish it up.
yeah, I just have to do some thinky thoughts and figure out exactly what direction I really want to go.
I guess I will leave you guys with the sooner you get me the details, the sooner
Yep.
I can start working that stuff in. So don't slack off too much.
Yep.
What's our between GURPS Hammer and this game? What's like our kind of our schedule? We're thinking.
So depending on how many sessions GURPS
Yeah,
Hammer
I'm
we
not
got
sure.
left, I don't think Nash is going to be back here in order to run his one shot. So if he is, we'll have that in between. But it may not actually be all that long. We may only have a month or so.
Depends. All right. Well, I will get busy and actually try to figure out the angle I want to take. I have some ideas, but you know how that goes.
Yeah. Ask questions. I'll get answers. If you ask a question I haven't even thought of, that means I probably needed to think of it. So feel free.
Yeah, I guess I appreciate what you said earlier about because obviously where we put our skill points is kind of like what we think we like and we want to do. So if you make those situations happen, that would be fun.
Yeah, I'm that way when it comes to GMing, and I do the same thing with background. So if you write up a good background and you got interesting things going on in there, I'm going to try to work that into the campaign. Oh, that reminds me. I think I am still going to run with the +5 for the full background workup. So if you actually do it, at least a timeline, then you're good for the 5 points, which I think
And 5 extra points for character creation.
yeah, for actual background write up.
Okay, that sounds fun.
Oh, with a lot of you that are here right now, I don't think that's going to be twisting anybody's arm.
No, I mean that's not so like basically like from when they were born type of background.
I mean, it's up to you what you actually want to do with that. A timeline is the easiest way to do it if you're not the a writer of prose, as some of these are. But the timeline that Ronki worked up is perfectly serviceable to that end.
Okay, as long as it's got like GM fodder material in it, right? Something like that.
Exactly.
Cool.
Right.
All right. So are we
That
wrapping this
reminds
up?
me.
Oh,
Where the hell is the last week's YouTube?
have I not uploaded it?
No, you
Don't
have
think
not.
so. I was thinking you were like traveling again because I thought you had said you were using your laptop.
Yeah, I was traveling. I came back this week, so I will upload it after I have a siesta after this.
I guess I'll have work to do later then.
Yep. Ditto. Cool, cool.
All right, I think that's enough. It's nice and short.
All right,
All right.
cool. You
The
want to
fantasy ground looks cool, by the way. The new colors
Oh,
and
the background.
background.
Yeah,
all
I
that.
was pretty happy with how that turned out. It's one of those things I've always meant to swap in new backgrounds, and it just never got around to it until Rigel basically insisted.
Yep. Because I wanted to use something other than the one that have been using for everything. Because everything looks the same then. All right, cool. So I'm gonna put some thinky thoughts. I'll probably have some additional questions, etc.
Well,
Right.
you want to sound us out?
Oh, well, I mean, if anybody's listening and you hadn't figured out that we're wrapping up now, then FYI, we're wrapping up now. So come back next
Cool,
week
we
and
knew.
we'll be back to Warhammer.
Cool. See you, stream.
Bye, stream.
All right.